As a Calgary Stampeders fan, I'm having goosebumps. This matchup always gives this Calgary sports fan goosebumps. Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And definitely missed it last year, missed doing the on the road to the Grey Cup videos. Well, I'm back this season in 2021. This time for reals, as I say, as the road to the 108th Grey Cup is on. This time it will be in Hamilton for 2021. So this is my second video of 5 when I'm looking at the playoff games. I've already made my preview for the East semifinal between the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Montreal Alouettes, with Hamilton hosting the game. Well, now let's look to the west side of the bracket, as we have the Calgary Stampeders, which that happens to be the team I cheer for, taking on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And that matchup definitely always gives me goosebumps in various ways. But this game will be in Saskatchewan, in hostile territory. So this definitely could play a role. Sadly, I looked at possibly going, but I didn't like my options or the cost to go, so I'll be staying right here for the game, but still would have been awesome to go. So before I bring on my notes and let's break down the matchup between the Calgary Stampeders and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. If you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and have all my social media links down in the description below. And I do have my second channel in Brett Hornby Shorts, where I exclusively put my YouTube shorts on there. So what I have done the last couple of years is I go on the CFL.ca, read the matchup, and then I just break it down and give my conclusions as well. There might be a few points I might disagree on when look at the matchup, and then just break it down, look at playoff history, and ultimately I give my pickup style, who I think is going to win, and my confidence. And then with this setup that I've already done it on my East semifinal video, is I use my Wiz Smart Bulb to pick the color of the team that I think is going to win. So either, if you look in the East semifinal video, what color did I change the bulb to in that video? So I guess in this video, will this guy be red or green at the end of the video? So the West semifinal, the Calgary Stampeders will be going on the road to take on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So looking at the team records, well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, they were second in the West Division with a 9-5 record. They had pretty good records both at home and against the division, as they were 5-2 at home, and they were 5-4 against the West Division. The Calgary Stampeders, they were third in the West Division with an 8-6 record. However, they were 5-2 on the road, and actually that is the best record in the CFL in 2021 for the road. And the Calgary Stampeders were also 6-4 against the West Division. It was unbalanced 14 game, which I looked at division, and like Saskatchewan only played 9 games against the West, while Calgary played 10. So those are the two records, and of course the winner of this game will take on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at IG Field. This game will be on Sunday, November the 28th at Mosaic Stadium. It will be a 2:30 kickoff Mountain or 4:30 Eastern, depending on where you are in the country. The West final, which would be the winner of this game, to take on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They moved up the final games by a half an hour. So on Sunday, December 5th, whoever wins this game will take on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at IG Field. That'll be a 2 p.m. kickoff. I'm on Mountain Time, but 4:30 or 4 p.m. Eastern, or 3 p.m. Central, because now they're in Central Time, both in Regina and Winnipeg. So that's the records. Season series, well, these two teams played each other 3 times this season. Starting in Week 9, this happened on Saturday, October the 2nd, as the Calgary Stampeders were hosting the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And the Calgary Stampeders won the first game 23-17. So it was a close matchup as Calgary only won by 6. And then the next game, this happened the next week on week 10, Saturday, October 9th. I made the trip to Regina, so I went to that game as the Calgary Stampeders, once again, they defeated the Saskatchewan Roughriders 22-19 on a last-second field goal. So Calgary took the season series in this one with one more matchup to go. And then the third game, this happened on week 12, Saturday, October 23rd, as these two teams were back here in Calgary. This time, Saskatchewan won that one 20-17. So if you do the math, Calgary won by 6, they won by 6 in the first game, won by 3 in the second game, and then Saskatchewan won by 3 in the third game. So a point differential of only 6 games. Probably going to say, based on that alone, we are thinking this is going to be a very, very close game. And this is where we also break up the matchup that I think we might be anticipating that. However, there's definitely some factors in play that maybe it won't be as close. So if we take a look at the playoff history, as I usually like to look back at the last 3 times that these two teams have met. Well, considering Calgary and Saskatchewan have been fierce rivals before this game, the last time that these two teams played each other was back in the 2013 West Final. Not bringing back good memories for this guy, as the Saskatchewan Roughriders defeated the Calgary Stampeders. The game was in Calgary, 35-13, and that was ultimately Saskatchewan's run to win the Grey Cup at home. So we did not win the West Final. 2012, they met in the West Semifinal. Once again, that game was in Calgary, as the Calgary Stampeders were on the right end of this one, 36-30. Definitely remember that game for being a wild one. Let's say Tate to Bryant. That was the big play in that one. And then in the 2010 West Final, not bringing back some bad memories and cold memories, both with the weather and the result. Okay, this happened on Sunday, November 21st in 2010. The Saskatchewan Roughriders won a close one, 20-16. And then I should say the West Final in 2013 was Sunday, November 17th. The West Semi-Final on 2012 was Sunday, November 11th. So things are later this year, you probably know why, with the pandemic. But that is some playoff history. There were a couple of close games and one blowout. And a couple of interesting facts with this matchup. Although it's a very short history for one team and a long history for another, but there was a long gap where they didn't play. Well, since moving to the new stadium, the Saskatchewan Roughriders actually have not won a playoff game since they moved to the new Mosaic Stadium in 2017. But I think this is only the 3rd time that Saskatchewan is going to host a playoff game since 2017. And then Calgary, we have not won a playoff game in Saskatchewan since 1971. That was during Calgary's run to their 2nd Grey Cup, where back in those days they played a couple games in a series. So Calgary has not won a playoff game there in 50 years. So one streak could break, either a very long one or a short one, as we say when it comes to this matchup. So the last playoff win for each teams, well, Calgary's last playoff win was a very exciting one, as it was the 2018 Grey Cup, the 106th Grey Cup in Edmonton. This happened on Sunday, November 25th, as the Calgary Stampeders won their 8th Grey Cup by defeating the Ottawa Redblacks 27-16. So that was the last playoff win for the Calgary Stampeders. Well, Saskatchewan's last playoff win happened in 2017 at the East semifinal. Yes, I said East semifinal because there was a crossover that year. As the Saskatchewan Roughriders, they also beat the Ottawa Redblacks in Ottawa 31-20. So both teams beat the Ottawa Redblacks for their last playoff win. So now let's break down the matchup on who's got the edge each facet of the game when it comes to this matchup. Starting with the most important position, the quarterback. Who's got the edge between Bo, Levi Mitchell for Calgary, and Cody Fajardo? Well, everything considered equal, I gotta say Calgary's got the edge with Bo, and even if there's any situations where the backup needs to come in, well, Jake Maier for Calgary is definitely a lot better, and I think his name is Ian Harkins for Saskatchewan that played last week. That because they knew they were finishing second. I'm gonna say Calgary has more depth at quarterback when it comes to the quarterback matchup, but I think Bo Levi Mitchell is the better quarterback over Cody Fajardo. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Stampeder fan. Most CFL fans will agree. However, we'll get to this team will win if points. So that's the quarterback. Now when it comes to the running back, I actually would like Calgary in this matchup as well as Kadeem Carey. He definitely had a breakout season for the Calgary Stampeders, finishing second in rushing behind William Stanback. And Kadeem Carey, may I dare add, definitely had his best games against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So William Powell's definitely no slouch when it comes to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. However, I think Kadeem Carey had a breakout season, so the edge goes to Calgary in that. Now when it comes to receivers, this is where it's very interesting. Depends how you slice it. I mean, Calgary's big three. Well, now that Reggie Bagleton is back, you got Reggie Bagleton, Markeith Ambles, and Kamar Jordan. And this is the healthiest the Calgary Stampeders have been in receivers. However, after those three, you can either have Hergy Miala, Richie Sindani. There's a little bit of a drop-off, but someone could pick up. However, I actually do agree and like the Saskatchewan Roughriders in this one because they got Duke Williams from the NFL. He's definitely breaked out, but Kyron Moore definitely had some big games as a receiver by the Calgary Stampeders. And they got Mitchell Picton, Brandon Lunyas, and Kieran Schaefer-Baker, and Shaq Evans. So I'm going to think as a group, I'm going to think Saskatchewan does actually have a better receiving core than Calgary. I mean, both teams have their big two or three, but I think as an overall group, I actually would give the edge to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Offensive line, the big guys up front to protect the quarterback and provide holes for the running back. I actually would like to give this one to the Calgary Stampeders. I think the Stampeders have the edge in this one, led by Sean McEwen, the big player that we signed when he got released by the Toronto Argonauts, local guy. I like the whole group as the Stampeders in the offensive line over Saskatchewan. I know Saskatchewan has Dan Clark, the longtime veteran from Saskatchewan, and Brendan Furlan, but I like the offensive line to go to the Calgary Stampeders in this matchup. So far I'm going to say the offense, other than the receivers, Calgary has the edge in. However, let's move to the defensive side of the ball, and I think this is where things could even out. So the defensive line, I definitely can see this going to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, led by A.C. Leonard. Keep in mind, A.C. Leonard, I remember he was a receiver for the BC Lions, so he definitely has excelled a lot more. Defense line, Jonathan Woodward, and I'm definitely giving that edge. They have a little more oomph. Calgary definitely has, Sean Lemon, Derek Wigan, and Mike Rose. They definitely have big games as well, but I think just on looking at the talent alone, I like the Saskatchewan Roughriders on their front four over the Calgary Stampeders. Now linebackers, I think Calgary would have a little bit of an advantage there. So as your Jameer Thurman and leading tackler in Darnell Sankey. I mean, Saskatchewan does have Dion Lacey and Micah Teets, but I'm going to have to say Calgary's definitely got the edge in that. Especially when they mentioned that Larry Dean had torn Achilles and won't play. So when it comes to the linebackers, the level 2 on the defense, I'm going to give that to the Calgary Stampeders. Now the defensive backs, despite the fact that Trey Roberson is back with the Calgary Stampeders and played a few games and might give all position quarterbacks notice, and we have, Jamar Wall and Jonathan Moxey, I actually think Saskatchewan has the edge when it comes to that, especially with Nick Marshall and Ed Gainey. Those two are definitely defensive backs that you got to take notice on when they're on the field, as they are big at picking off interceptions. So I like Saskatchewan when it comes to that matchup. Now when it comes to the return game, actually the CFL, and I agree, it's a push. It depends on who's back there. I mean, Calgary's had a revolving door, but they have settled on Malik Henry. He did not play last week against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but I think was resting him for the playoffs. While Jamal Morrow is their turner for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I'm going to say that's a push right now, because I think they're both just as not as proven, not like a Brendan Banks or a Devon Dedman, but I'm going to say it's a push. Whoever has a big game will make the edge when it comes to that. And then the last part on special teams is the kicking game. I'm going to say both teams have great punters and kickers, Brett Lowther and John Ryan for Saskatchewan. But Calgary has a pretty good pair themselves in Cody Grace and Rene Paredes when it comes to All-Stars, as they both were named to the All-Stars in the West. I'm going to give the slight edge to Calgary when it comes to the kicking game, especially Rene Paredes. If he's in position to kick a winning field goal, let's say week 10 or last week against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I like our chances. So that's definitely the facets of the game when it comes to the edge. I'm going to say defensively, especially 2 of the 3 levels, Saskatchewan has the edge. But offensively, Calgary, I would say, has the edge if they have a big game on the ground. And receivers, that's definitely going to be the big story for this game. And as well as the person throwing the ball to said receivers, or at least attempting to send the ball to the receivers. So now this part of the video, this is where I'll put this team will win if. Calgary will win if Goodbow shows up. I think you know what I mean when I say Goodbow. If Goodbow shows up in this game, and if you look at the season series, and all 3 of those games, there were lots of points where Badbow showed up, and yet Calgary still won 2 of those 3 games. The game that I was at, Calgary turned the ball over 3 times. Badbow showed up and threw 2 interceptions. So I think if Goodbow shows up, this should be a win for Calgary. Calgary will win if Kadeem Carey continues to feast on Saskatchewan. If Kadeem Carey did exactly what he did against Saskatchewan all season, including with Goodbow showing up, I think Calgary will win this game. Last part I'll put down if the defensive line puts more pressure on Cody Fajardo. Cody Fajardo is definitely have a chip on his shoulder because he didn't necessarily like how last season went, especially in that close game in the East Final where the pass went off the goalposts and Winnipeg ultimately held on to win. Although Cody Fajardo was also banged up in that game. But if our defense can put some doubt in Cody Fajardo, put pressure on him, sack him a few times, I think Calgary will win that game. Saskatchewan will win, well, if Cody Fajardo outduels Bo Levi Mitchell, and that's assuming, both quarterbacks play at the top of their games. Whoever has the better game, I'm going to say, will ultimately be going to Winnipeg. Saskatchewan will win if secondary wins the turnover battle with their interceptions. If Badbow shows up and the secondary definitely picks off a few interceptions, and if Saskatchewan takes advantage of the turnovers, they will win. And I felt in the game that in Saskatchewan did not took full advantage of the turnovers that were given. And then the last part, I'm going to say Saskatchewan will win if William Powell, if he outruns Kadeem Carey. Kadeem Carey outran William Powell in much of the season series. However, if William Powell outruns him, I think Saskatchewan will win this game. But looking at the season series, it's probably going to be within 7 points if, both players play up to their potential. So now when it comes to the weather forecast, I looked on Environment Canada. As I was making on those notes, it looks like it's going to be a nice day in Regina for the last Sunday in November, as they are forecasting a mix of sun and cloud and 8 degrees for a high in Regina, late November. I want that for the Grey Cup next season. But now it doesn't look like weather will not be a factor, as in the East semifinal, they're predicting snow for that game as of this recording. So weather won't be a factor, and then they're saying cloudy periods and -3 for a low. So I'd say about freezing for much of the game, but for this time of year in Saskatchewan, we'll take that. So I don't think weather will be as much of a factor. So who do I think is going to win this game? Let's bring on the smart bulb. What color am I going to pick? If it's Saskatchewan, it will be this color. Or it'll be this color for Saskatchewan, or this color when it comes to the Calgary Stampeders. So who do I have winning this game? Saskatchewan, or do I have Calgary? Well, I am going to give this one to my Calgary Stampeders, but I'm going to give them a 55% confidence. 55% confidence because this is going to be a close matchup looking at the season series and the fact that history actually is not on the side when it comes to my Calgary Stampeders. As since 1994, Calgary has only won 2 games. Playoff games against Saskatchewan Roughriders as they won in 1994 and 2012. But those games are at home, when it's a little more friendlier for the Calgary Stampeders. This is going to be in extremely, extremely hostile territory. I can only imagine how hostile it will be for my Calgary Stampeders for this playoff game. And then the fact that which bow shows up, that's still going to be the big story. However, that being said, I do have faith in my Calgary Stampeders. They will win this one on the road in Saskatchewan because they had the best road record in the league. And the Calgary Stampeders, since that Hamilton game where I was down on them, 2-5 to wrap up September, they've been 6-1. And I'm going to say Calgary won 2 of 3 against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I mean, the first game we had a fast start there, but that bow showed up in the spurts in that season series. So I think Calgary will pull off this win against the Saskatchewan Roughriders because I think they are the better team. But I think where the Stampeders are right now in the standings, the quote, we got the right where we want them. And I think some teams might take a little nap on the Stampeders, but that's all I have. So I'm going to say, who do you have winning the West semi-final between the Calgary Stampeders and the Saskatchewan Roughriders? Who do you think is going to be going to Winnipeg a week later to be in hostile territory either way? And which Dickinson is going to go into Winnipeg? Craig or Dave? My vote is for Dave. I hope Dave is going to Winnipeg and not Craig. Sorry, Craig. I remember when I was at the game and someone was mocking Dave Dickinson about mother, and I was about to say, you know, your coach has the same mother too. But it's all fun of being in the stands. So anyways, like to say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans' journey, home the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders, as I mostly do talk Calgary sports on my YouTube channel, recapping games and stories, but this on the road to the Grey Cup also just shows I'm a CFL fan as well, and definitely looking forward to another run to the Grey Cup. Out west, it starts off in Regina, and then we'll eventually go to Winnipeg, and then eventually go to Hamilton. So we're working our way east, and hopefully my Calgary Stampeders will get to do that. But I also do a variety of non-sports content like personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and I do share my experiences on the road or a sport event. I wish I could share some experiences in Regina this weekend, but just didn't work out. But if that all sounds like the interest to watch to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, you know, you do just make sure you hit like and subscribe. I also have my other social media links down in the description below for other ways you can follow me. And I do have my second channel in Brett Hornby Shorts, where I'll put my short form content on there as well. And for example, with these playoff games, I mean, I have done Calgary Flames and Calgary Stampeders quick post-game recaps, but with the 5 playoff games in the CFL, I will do the same, where I'll do it for all 5 games to do a quick recap on who won, who's moving on, and who stood out. So anyways, I got to say go Stamps go, because my team was involved in this one. Go Stamps go. Let's go Red. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. And last point, you gotta admit, I won't look as good wearing green with the watermelon in my head anyway, so that's why I wear red. and a brace wearing the black hat in this matchup. So thanks for watching.